Ghosts of the Deep dungeon weapons. Some of the best in the game, featuring the only kinetics like wave frame GL, and the highest burst damage rocket launcher. But why am I bringing these up now? They've been in the game for the best part of 2 seasons at this point. Well, shortly after the release of Season 23, a new dungeon will be added, and this will move Ghosts of the Deep from farmable to the rotator list, meaning that it can only be looted more than once a week on select weeks, and these will only come around every 7 or so weeks. Plus, there's not exactly a lot happening on Destiny 2 right now, so why not get some weapons which will most likely still be some of the best in slot from the final shape. For all available weapons, I'll show what to look for in both PvE and PvP, and which dungeon encounter is the best to farm for them. I'll also include a brief guide to dungeon encounters on how to complete them as efficiently as possible. First up, the new Pacific Epitaph. This one's an instant standout, being the only wave frame grenade launcher in the kinetic slot, wave frames being one of the best options for ad clear, paired with being exceptionally easy to use. The perks available are not too shabby either. My first choice will be Demolitionist paired with Pugilist. This makes any weapon kill restore both grenade and melee energy. These abilities can then be used on mages or ultras where a wave frame is not the best suited. Demolitionist also allows for a weapon to be auto-loaded each time a grenade is used. For non-ability focused builds, column 3 has Lead from Gold, a great ammo economy perk, or Unrelenting for sustain. Column 4 has Kill Clip, which is actually quite effective here, with a reload being needed between every shot. Or you could use Collective Action. This one gives extra damage whenever a pickup is collected. PvP, you'll be using this as a primer weapon, allowing you to finish off a target with whatever energy weapon you have equipped. Column 3 Perpetual Motion will near max out handling and reload when it's stacked up, maxing out both of these stats if you use quick launch and high velocity rounds. Column 4 is mainly damage perks, which won't be activated much as you won't really be getting final blows of it. Harmony, however, gives a damage boost on other weapon final blows. That would go with this. The new Pacific Epitaph drops from the Hive Ritual encounter and Simumar. Next, the No Survivors, a workhorse type of submachine gun which can give the Callus mini-tool competition. Better still if you don't have a crafted mini-tool yet, but this one can also shine in PvP. The stacked perk pool and the preferred archetype. PvE is Demolitionist with Incandescent. Some of the better SMGs in the past have had one of these perks or the other, but never the ability to slot both in at once. This combination does work well together too. Any enemy defeated from the Scorch stacks provided by Incandescent will also return grenade energy from Demolitionist. Best used on a solo subclass of Ember of Ashes to increase the Scorch stacks provided by Incandescent, making the ignitions all the more likely. PvP, a couple of months ago would have certainly been rangefinder and target lock, no questions asked. But since both of these perks have been reduced in effectiveness, other options have become valid. But I do want to state that just because they've been slightly nerfed, it doesn't mean these perks are useless. Far from it in fact. Target lock will still allow for this weapon to hit a 0.67 time to kill on any resilience. The other options which come into the mix include Discord, where getting a kill with another weapon makes this thing supercharged. Faster ADS, increased accuracy, and refreshes the mag on each kill. Fourth column has Elemental Capacitor, which adapts a weapon depending on subclass. Arc will max out handling, Void will add extra stability, and Stasis will improve ADS movement speed, and the No Survivors can drop from all encounters. The Greasy Luck Glaive. In my opinion, this one's actually heavily underrated, and glaives are also set to receive a buff next season too, making it an even more viable option, with changes to projectile speed of plus 30% and projectile damage increase of 25%. Perk combination to look out for here is one which maximises melee damage through projectile hits, the perfect pairing being Disruption Break and Close to Melee. Close to Melee has been a standout perk on a few glaives up to now, and it provides 30% increased melee damage after a projectile final blow. Its duration can be refreshed further with more melee damage, and Disruption Break gives 50% increased kinetic damage after breaking a shield using the projectile. Do note that it doesn't actually need to be a matching shield too, but the neat thing is that glaive melee damage actually counts as kinetic too, and these perks will stack up, even more so if you're using a melee boosting exotic such as Symphoseps or Winter's Gale. PvP is a bit of a weird spot for glaives. This one being part of a rapid fire archetype is a benefit, as it will still be able to two-shot all resiliences with projectiles, but at a faster rate than other glaives, at a time to kill of 0.73. But another changes are coming to glaives, which might give this one another interesting use. The delay between projectiles and melee hits is being changed from 0.75 seconds to 0.2 seconds, making projectile into melee much more smooth. I think this one however would still need a damage boost to one-shot higher resiliences with one projectile into melee. I'd say a typical perk combination for PvP would be Impulse Amplifier plus Opening Shot, and the Greasy Luck can drop from Ekvar and Samumar. Finally, the Cold Comfort, and I think this one should be everyone's priority if you don't already have a good role, because it can be really incredible. The origin trait Restoration Ritual is the same on all weapons I've mentioned so far, but it has the most impact here. After either a finisher or reviving a teammate, the next time a weapon's mag is emptied, it will be automatically refilled, essentially skipping a rocket reload, which can be vital for DPS phases. And on skipping reloads, this rocket also rolls with Envious Assassin, whereby getting kills with other weapons slowly overflows a mag. This will normally max out at 3, but with some easy to execute mag rounding tricks, you can instead get it to overflow to 4. I'll put a link in the description for a guide on how to do this. Combined with the extra rocket from Restoration Ritual, you now have a 5 round mag. Oh, and also Cold Comfort can roll with 4th column perk Bait and Switch, giving 35% increased damage upon activation, which is one of the highest possible for rockets. And it's an aggressive frame too, one of the frames which has a plus 10% increase in base damage. The god roll stated here, alongside impact casing for that little bit more impact damage, is likely the best rocket in game, and will remain so for some time. PvP it's not that bad I suppose with its high velocity, but it does suffer in blast radius. But really, it's just another rocket, you could probably find something better. You probably want to have tracking module, along with explosive light to hopefully make up for that low blast radius. The Cold Comfort can drop from all encounters. And now for the encounters themselves. Which one should you farm? Starting with the first encounter Hive Ritual. The rewards for this one include all weapons with the exception of the glaive Greasy Luck. Now this encounter can be quite lengthy with the completion criteria of activating 4 Hive statues after hunting down Loosened Hive, so I wouldn't really recommend to farm this one if you're in a group. However, this encounter is not actually much slower if you're solo, and there's no DPS checks or mechanics which are much easier as a group. So if you don't have a team available, this is a good encounter to solo farm. You can still get your god roll Cold Comfort this way, if that's all you're really looking for, as there's no boss tier enemies in this encounter, utilising movement speed is more of the key here. You can use a Sparrow throughout the whole encounter arena, and pair this with a Strand subclass for grapple, alongside Eager Edge Sword, which will help speed up the completion time. Next up, Ekvar Shield of Savathun. The rewards from this one are all weapons except the new Pacific Epitaph, and this one's a really good farm for a fire team, especially those which are able to one-phase a boss, and I found the best way to do this is utilising high damage close range options. Legend of Acuus is fantastic here, also the Lament if you don't happen to have one. Titans can utilise Strand with Sympaceps, plus a 1-2 punch shotgun for high damage for both their melees and their super. Warlocks should run at least one Well of Radiance, with the survivability plus the radiant damage boost. Additional Warlocks can utilise Arc with Geomags for high damage chaos reach, and the Arc buddies add some extra damage too. Hunters could use Tether for a 30% damage debuff. Note that you could have someone running a tractor cannon for the same effect, but this will sacrifice a heavy weapon slot. Blade Barrage Solar Hunter will probably be the best for just straight up burst damage. Finally, Samumar Urnakru. This boss will drop 2 of any loot available from a dungeon, but can run at a much longer encounter time if the team is not optimised to deal damage to it. Because of this, if you can't consistently one-phase it, it might be better to run one of the other 2 encounters, despite the double loot available here. The best way to deal with Samumar differs from a previous encounter, as this one will remain airborne, making melee or close range options pretty ineffective. Because of this, Galahorn with supporting rockets is a great choice. Tracking rockets get some extra points here as his boss has quite a small frame and will move around a bit at random. Alternatively, linear fusion rifles work here too. The Root of Nightmare's weapon Briar's Content will even have access to a damage boost via its origin trait against Loosened Hive. Divinity could also be used by a fire team member to ensure all critical hits with linears. The Warlock and Hunter choices remain pretty much the same as the previous encounter, but Titans should either run Thunder Crash or Hammer of Soul for supers which can deal good damage to a floating target. So that's the lot. Go out there and get some of the best weapons in the game. I at least recommend trying to pick up a really good roll of Cold Comfort, and see what other things you get along the way. Thank you for watching.